Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 184. We're going to discuss Zombie Werewolves Attack, which was released in 2009. I watched this on Fossum. I had not seen this before. As always, we begin with the prominent crew and cast. You can always find links to a more complete credit list in the show notes. This film was written and directed by Christopher D. Green. FX makeup artist was Adam Ellis. I could find almost nothing out about either of them. The cast includes Marcel Legault as Dave, Edson Morales as Patrick, billed as Edson Tito Morales. Marcel Legault appeared in low-budget favorites including Batman Knight's End and Batman Vendetta, embodying the cunning Riddler in gritty short fan films. Beyond screen work, Legault doubled as a night performer and stunt coordinator at Medieval Times Toronto, bringing theatrical flair to live audiences. Edson Morales broke into acting in the late 2000s with indie roles, including this film. He moved on to TV, including the recent Amazon series Reacher. He also has a notable villainous role in Nobody. I unfortunately can't recommend this film. It has a few genuinely neat ideas, and we'll get to those, and the occasional flash of competence, but the micro-budget cripples it at every turn. The ambition is admirable, yet it never comes close to fulfilling it. Worse, large stretches are shockingly dull. If you require decent acting or werewolves that don't look like Spirit Halloween leftovers, then skip this one. So let's cover the spoilers. Dave is having recurring nightmares about werewolves attacking him and his girlfriend, Catherine, on kids at playground equipment. He hits a crazy homeless guy with his car on the way home from his boring computer repair job. His friend group has 7 brain cells between all of them, and getting high doesn't make them any smarter. You think I'm exaggerating? One dude can't put a bagel in his mouth. The full moon rises. On a trip to obtain munchies, the oblivious stoners miss werewolves attacking several people in the background. One werewolf attacks them as they enter the store, biting Emily's arm. While Dave and Mike argue about what attacked them and how to defend themselves, she turns into a werewolf. More werewolves burst into the store. Outside, a full werewolf apocalypse is underway. Dave and Mike get back to their friends, who are too stoned to take anything seriously. Suddenly, a pack of werewolves crashes into the house like the world's hairiest home invaders. Quick, chaotic slaughter ensues. A handful of survivors flee and barricade themselves inside a grocery store. Everyone bitten or killed is now reanimating as fast, rabid zombie werewolves. A werewolf hunter from a family of hunters shows up with a silver axe. He tells them that if they can kill the alpha, the rest will be easier to deal with. Then werewolves kill him while he's leaving the store. It ends up where we started, Dave and his girlfriend on the playground equipment. They hold the horde off long enough for the sun to rise, turning everyone back into a human again, until the next full moon. Oh, and Dave gets bitten at the end. We actually get a couple of werewolf transformations, and they're gloriously cheap. The trick is simple. Linger on the actor, slap on some color grading and basic CGI, then cut to the performer in full makeup. Most of it's kept to frantic action shots, but there were a few close-ups where the werewolf tries to emote. The makeup is barely adequate, yet it clears the low bar, and the performers are giving it their all. The werewolf lore in this film is delivered mostly through a single, breathless 10-minute monologue from the grizzled werewolf hunter, and it's a mess of half-baked ideas. According to him, the alpha werewolf spends his life jet-setting around the globe trying to outrun full moons, as if lunar phases are local weather. He claims the current outbreak is catastrophic because it's happening under a blue moon, which is treated like a once-in-a-millennium apocalypse, even though blue moons happen every couple of years. Killing an alpha, we're told, can end an entire bloodline's curse, while regular werewolves are inexplicably drawn to forests, an intriguing detail the movie promptly forgets all about. The real twist, and the only part that sticks, is that a werewolf bite doesn't wait for the next full moon. Victims die almost instantly, then reanimate as fast, feral, mindless werewolf zombies that attack and infect, much more like a rabid 28 Days Later crossover. It's a wild gonzo mutation of the classic myth that turns the film into more of a zombie apocalypse flick wearing a werewolf mask. So let's talk about zombies. Vampires rise and fall with fashion, and werewolves get rebooted every decade. Slashers cycle like the seasons, but zombies never die. They multiply. From Haitian sugar plantations to Seoul commuter trains, from Romero's shopping malls to the CDC's tongue-in-cheek preparedness posters, the living dead have colonized the modern imagination like no other monster. And the reason is brutally simple. The zombie apocalypse is the one end-of-the-world story that refuses to end. I know I'm focused on werewolf films on this channel, but I have to take this opportunity to talk a little more about zombies. The word zombie entered English in the 1810s from Haitian Creole, zombie, I think, itself rooted in West African terms for god and corpse. In voodoo belief, a zombie was a corpse reanimated by a bokor raised through magic or drugs to serve as a mindless slave, an embodiment of slavery's very real horror, a person stripped of will, voice, and soul. That folklore reached American audiences during the 1950s through the 1934 U.S. occupation of Haiti, popularized by William Seabrook's 1929 book, The Magic Island. The first film zombie in 1932's White Zombie was still a thrall controlled by Bela Lugosi's plantation-owning sorcerer. Everything changed in 1968 with George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. Romero removed the master. The dead rose for no reason, devoured the living, and reanimated anyone who died, bite or no bite. His ghouls were slow, stupid, relentless, and universal. Later films sharpened the satire. Dawn of the Dead trapped survivors in a mall. Day of the Dead in a bunker, turning the undead into mirrors of consumerism and militarism. The 2000s brought speed. Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later unleashed sprinting infected. Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead proved the premise could run for hundreds of hours as long as the virus stayed incurable. Video games, Resident Evil, Left 4 Dead, and The Last of Us, made it interactive. By the 2010s, the genre was global. Train to Busan, The Kingdom, Wreck, even Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. The zombie apocalypse had become the default setting for imagining societal collapse. So why zombies and not vampires or werewolves? All three conditions are spread via infection. Yet only zombies reliably produce extinction-level fictional events. Vampires need seduction, ritual, or consent. They remain aristocratic and selective. Werewolves transform on a lunar schedule, can be stopped with silver, and aren't undead. Zombies require nothing but proximity and time. No invitation, no full moon, no rare metal. One infected rat, one plane passenger, and the math goes exponential. The infection is democratic, instant, and irreversible. Which brings us to the 2009 micro-budget oddity, Zombie Werewolves Attack. It starts out as a werewolf movie. There's an alpha leader, silver axes, howling cliches, but the moment someone is bitten, the rules flip straight to pure zombie logic. Victims die fast. They reanimate faster as rabid wolf zombies. And they spread the curse like 28 Days Later on four legs. There's no waiting for the moon. No tragic duality. There's no sunrise cure. Well, kind of. In its gloriously cheap way, the film accidentally exposes why zombies own our nightmares. The infection isn't a plot device, it is the entire plot. Every victory is temporary, every resolution is false. The premise only stays alive as long as the virus keeps spreading. That cyclical engine powers every long-running zombie franchise. By grafting zombie rules onto werewolf mythology, Zombie Werewolves Attack reveals the trap. Once the infection is loose, the only honest endings are extinction or surrender. Everything else is sequel bait dressed as hope. And that's why we keep telling zombie stories and rarely imagining global werewolf or vampire apocalypses. Only the zombie delivers the one thing modern audiences both fear and crave, a threat that can never, ever be put back in its grave. Switching to a different topic, Zombie Werewolves Attack wants you to know that it is very upset about capitalism, but it spends so much energy shouting that it forgets to say anything coherent. The film's first 30 minutes, literally, nearly half of its lean 70-minute runtime, are devoted to our 20-something protagonists lounging around a rundown house, whining about dead-end jobs, student debt, and how their boomer parents sold out. They deliver the kind of half-remembered entry-level anti-capitalist talking points you'd expect from someone who just skimmed the Wikipedia page for Karl Marx between bong hits. Landlords are bad, corporations are evil, working sucks, man. It's not Dawn of the Dead sharp satire of mindless consumerism. More the stoned couch philosophy of a trust fund film student who just discovered Chomsky. Then the werewolf zombies show up, and every trace of that critique evaporates. These creatures aren't shopping, hoarding wealth, or trampling each other on Black Friday. They're rabid monsters ripping throats out. Nothing about them even loosely metaphorizes corporate greed, wage slavery, or commodity fetishism. They're not zombies shambling toward a mall. They're 28 Days Later infected with fur. The early whining suddenly feels like pointless padding. 30 minutes spent establishing a theme that the movie had zero intention of exploring once the gore starts. Classic zombie films earn their anti-capitalist bite by making the metaphor stick. Romero's undead flocking to a shopping mall like brain-dead consumers. Boyle's rage virus born from animal testing labs funded by Big Pharma. Wright's zombies shuffling through the same commuter routines that they followed in life. In Zombie Werewolves Attack, the monsters have zero connection to the earlier whining about rent and wages. The second the claws come out, the script ditches its half-hearted politics even faster than the characters ditch their smirks. All that remains is a cheap creature feature that wasted half its runtime preaching a sermon that it never meant to deliver. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, we finally tackle Twilight as I discuss New Moon from 2009. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bolt in the chamber, and we'll see you back here next episode.